Badlands, what are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Liberty Den. Brian, Jatred, how you guys doing?
Solid.
Doing great, man.
Jay, I love your freaking shirt, dude.
Oh,
Say that.
Thank you. I wore it in honor of Joe Biden. I was a little concerned after debate Joe seemed to have gone full retard, and we can't have him go full retard. We need him to get to November 5th. So, but amazing that his presser wasn't considered a complete disaster, being that he called Kamala Vice President Trump and he introduced Zelensky as President Putin. So shows you how far the standards have lowered for Joe. So that's a good sign. But I say put him in Kevlar bubble wrap and get him to November 5th, man.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. But I feel like I have an unpopular opinion about that press conference because I didn't get to watch it live. I watched a bunch of the clips afterwards. Or I watched a bunch of the clips. I watched it live like 3 hours later. And I didn't think it was that bad. Like, that was normal Joe Biden. Like, the same Joe Biden we've seen the last 3.5 years. Like, it was... Yeah. In my opinion, blown a little out of proportion, but which is a good thing. I think the virality of it is perfect based on everything since the debate and whatnot. It's a good thing, but that's the Joe Biden we've had, guys.
That's the Joe Biden that we know. That's not the Joe Biden that CNN and MSNBC viewers know, though. And now it's being highlighted. It's like you walk around with a pimple on your face and it's like you think every single person notices it, but they don't. And then as soon as you point it out to them, they can't stop looking at it. And that's what's happening to a lot of these MSNBC watchers right now. And plus, there's just an absolute movement to get him out now. I mean, they're freezing his money. He's I'm sorry. I hate saying it, but he's done.
I don't think so.
Well, it seems like, I don't know. I mean, maybe things have changed today, but I know after the presser, it seemed to be that the media was saying like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't the disaster that the debate was. So like, is that enough to just keep him hanging on and string him along a little bit longer? You know, just make it not unanimous that we want him out. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's gotten to that point, but right after they were kind of saying, "Oh, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad." You know, that's what I'm saying. Like that, the standards are just so low for this guy.
Because here's the question on this. And hey, Abs, how you doing, man?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
If he's done, right? If there is somebody that calls the shots, like somebody above him, that's like, "You're done now. We're going in a different direction. You're out of there." Don't you think that would have happened already? But clearly, like either he is the one that gets to make that decision and he's shown and said that he won't do that, or whatever is keeping him in office has shown that they're not going to do it. Like no amount of pressure is going to make it happen.
I do believe that there are some major FEC issues around how much money is in his campaign and him being the candidate up to a certain point. So I think it's a little more than just narrative in this situation right here. There's a time frame of which they have to act, and it's after. As far as I understand, they can't free up his money until after the DNC convention.
But
so I could be wrong. I mean, FEC campaign laws are like the IRS, you know, the tax code. Good luck with it.
Totally made up and bullshit.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like, what happens if that's the case? Like, if he has I think he says he has 220 million in the coffers. He doesn't have a bank account with 220 million in it. There's PACs that donate certain amounts over a period of time. So, you know, those PACs are now freezing that money and saying, "We're not giving you any more." So, you know, I mean, why can't they just pull the money out and put it into a new candidate? So I understand that it is very fake in that regard.
Well, I used to work in fundraising, and my understanding of what's happening here is these were donors that have pledged money. So like you'll go in and you'll be like, "I'm going to pledge $50,000 over the next 5 years." So that's like $10,000 a year for 5 years. And these donors just get, and you sign your name on that. And then as a company fundraising, you will actually go, like, you put that in your tax documents and everything, like, this is how much we have pledged. And the donors are saying that we are no longer going to follow through with our pledged commitments. So they may have, pledged $1 million over a year. So I'm assuming they have to pay that stuff within a much briefer time period. And they're just like, okay, well, we're like 3 months in, we're going to stop paying this now. So that is definitely interesting, but still, like, I don't see a mechanism for his removal that wouldn't have already taken place by now. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm hung up on. I don't see how they do it.
The only mechanism I see to get him out of there is if he croaks. That's the only mechanism I see to replace him for them. That it optically it saves them face. They don't have to say, "Hey, we're replacing him because he's an ass bag candidate." They don't have to say they're replacing him because of dementia. They're replacing him because he croaked. And I mean, this is the same. These are the same people that took out an actual good president in JFK in '63. I don't put anything past them at this point. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I largely agree with John. I think at this point, the only way he gets replaced is if something happens to him. I had a post the other day. It's like, if he doesn't get replaced, it's arguably the biggest devolution proof in history. If he does get replaced, it's a top 3 Q proof in history. Whichever way they go, they're screwed. They're absolutely screwed heading into November from where I sit, man.
I love the chat is trying to figure out where I'm at, and some are saying it's a green screen. Some are saying Bermuda, the Bahamas.
Bermuda.
No,
I'm gonna
it's
say
not a green screen. It's a window.
And those are not southern trees. You're on a lake somewhere.
A lake somewhere. And
Yeah, that's
Dakota
like
doesn't have any lakes.
You still got some light behind you too, which
Right,
makes
so
you
you're
somewhere in my region.
Yeah, I think he's at Lake Mead, right outside of Area 51. John Deep State confirmed.
There you go.
100.
I'm within 4 hours driving distance of
Freaking
my
reptilian
hometown.
alien.
Central time.
I'm just
What?
in Minnesota, guys. The kids are here, little kids weekend. But yeah, I'm still streaming, so nothing crazy
How come
going
it's light out there? Isn't it dark yet?
They're
Oh,
pretty
you're
far
north.
north.
You're pretty
Yeah.
far north. That's why.
Yeah.
The camera makes it look lighter than it really is. It's like pretty dark out.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we could talk about quite a bit of Joe Biden tonight. I mean, there's so many clips we could choose from.
Oh, God.
If you guys want, we can talk about whatever. I don't really care. I
There's
think
a shit ton of news that just dropped in the last 4 hours.
like what?
Elon Musk just donated a sizable amount to a Trump PAC.
I did see that.
That's big news.
Well, okay. Well, before you go through all these new stuff, let's get to our first 2 sponsors really quick, or not our first 2. The sponsors of tonight's show. These 2 businesses are sponsoring our show tonight. We got GoldCo up first. The 2024 election is approaching, bringing the potential impact on our finances with $6 trillion in taxes in play. It's a great time to consider buying gold. Gold prices have been soaring lately as more people turn to gold to safeguard their assets against the looming threat of a recession or a debt-induced currency crisis. Join the thousands of hardworking Americans who are taking proactive steps to safeguard their savings with GoldCo. With over 10 years of experience in gold and silver sales, over $2.5 billion in precious metal placements, and over 5,000 5-star reviews from satisfied customers, GoldCo has established itself as a top player in the gold industry. Their buyback guarantee assures you that if your situation changes, they will repurchase your metals at the best price, providing you with peace of mind. GoldCo has your back and is committed to supporting you and your financial security. Let them help you safeguard your financial well-being from whatever crisis may strike next. Head over to badlandsgold.com today and claim your free gold and silver kit. You may even qualify for up to 10% back in bonus silver. Hurry, supplies are limited. Badlandsgold.com. All right, more news.
Elon's based as fuck, man.
How much did he give?
His tweets the last week have been insane.
The election stuff?
Yep. The election stuff, calling to get rid of the machines, paper ballots, hand counted, calling out the illegals. He had the treason post that I think that was 2 weeks ago. I mean, his posts have been based AF, man.
Yeah, he's been activated for sure.
Yeah, I fully expect him to endorse Trump before November. I think that's going to happen.
You donated to him.
If a donation's not an endorsement.
Right. There's still going to be people out there that are heard my Elon is deep state. There's still going to be out there, but Yeah, good
How
luck
much
getting
did
that
he give?
voted.
I can't wait till that happens. There's gonna be just a huge meltdown. I mean, I don't know how it is out there, but out here in LA, like every liberal bought a Tesla and they're still driving them, and they're just gonna be serious fire sale on Teslas. I'm gonna get me a used one.
That's
I want
awesome.
a P90D Ludicrous, or what's the top one? The P90D, but they make the one with the half steering wheel. What the hell is it called? It's like,
I don't know,
dude. It's like 0 to 60 in 1.5 seconds.
I don't know, man.
It's not the Plaid.
The Roadster.
No. It's a Model. It's a Model S. It's not the Plaid. It is a Plaid. Yeah, it's the Plaid. The P90 Plaid.
No idea.
It's like 0 to 60. It's got like a half steering wheel. It's like the Tron game. It's hideous, but whatever.
Well, I'm happy to take it off any liberal's hands that's disgusted with Elon. I'll take it for pennies on the dollar.
How much did he actually donate to the PAC, though?
They haven't said yet. They won't know until I think the next reporting is July 15th.
Gotcha.
So we won't know until then. Although I'm sure he'll say by then. They said a sizable donation. And Bloomberg is already freaking out about the world's richest man putting his imprint on American politics. And it's like, yo, y'all been doing that shit forever. Don't be mad that the hedge fundies are looking at us now.
Didn't the guy who started Bloomberg run for president?
Bloomberg?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what about the Zuckerbucks? Did they forget about those that like single-handedly stole the election?
People with money get a say in politics. It's just, unfortunately, most of the time they're idiots. Okay, but what else broke? What other news?
Alec Baldwin's case is dismissed with prejudice.
Oh, that was total bullshit, dude.
Right? He goes, I pulled the hammer back and the gun went off. Like, there's no universe. If that happened, then your gun is seriously faulty, and you might want to. At no point should the gun ever go off because you pull the hammer back. Such bullshit, man.
But it's, so it's the reason he got off.
Yeah, do you know the reason? Because I just know what they said during the trial.
From what I hear, the prosecutors at some point found a box of live ammo on set, but they didn't disclose it to the defense, which is like, I mean, I even know, not studying law, just watching like random Law and Order or Suits or whatever, TV years ago, that if you have evidence, you have to disclose that to the defense. That's like Brady stuff, right? Brady material. They didn't disclose it. And so the judge is like, well, yeah, you can't do that. And so we're going to dismiss this case with prejudice. The prejudice part is a little ridiculous to me. Like, this guy killed somebody. And just because the prosecutors botched a case against a super wealthy liberal elite douchebag, we're not going to allow this guy to be charged again, even though he committed a crime. Like that's one flaw with our system that I think is stupid. Like, if somebody potentially committed a crime, somebody died because of something this person did, he's gonna never be able to be charged because this microphone is ridiculous right now. Yeah, never gonna be able to be charged because the prosecutors messed up.
Well, think about General Flynn's case. I mean, they held back Brady material, and the DOJ eventually dropped the case, and the judge still wouldn't dismiss the case. So contrast the two. It's absolutely ludicrous.
But explain it to me like I'm 5. Why wouldn't the prosecution bring up the fact that they found live ammo on set? Wouldn't that help their case, finding live? Because there shouldn't be live ammo on a movie set. Wouldn't that have helped them out?
Didn't they use it in the case against the girl that was like the gun handler on the set? Like, and is that how they found out that there was this evidence? I'm not sure exactly.
I haven't followed any of the case until I saw that one post earlier, so I have no idea. But you're right. Like, it makes it almost seem like these prosecutors intentionally dropped the ball to let this dude get off. Like, that's where my head's at with this right now.
And I also heard that the prosecutor resigned immediately. The one who screwed up, I guess. Did you hear that?
He's probably about to get some kind of big promotion somewhere.
Well, he doesn't need to work anymore once he gets his check from Alec. I'm not implying that he got bribed or anything, but
he totally got bribed.
The dismissal, I understand. The dismissal itself, I think, is the correct decision, but with prejudice is insane. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. Unless it, like, the evidence that they withheld was something that would have exonerated him. This doesn't exonerate him. He still went through all the act. How the ammo got there is irrelevant, really, to his case ultimately. But there's not supposed to be an assumption that there's supposed to be an assumption that there's live ammo in that gun. You don't shoot guns in people's direction, even in the movies. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm
Isn't
probably
that
looking
how Brandon Lee died? Didn't he die that way?
Yeah, and that's
for.
actually, that case is that's like the reason they changed up all the gun safety stuff on movie sets. Like there's literally no reason that the gun should have even been aimed at her. They use forced perspective and different angles and things of that nature to make it look like guns are actually aimed at people when they're not.
Right.
So there was no reason for the gun to be aimed at her. There was no reason for live ammunition to be in it. It's crazy to me. I can't, and I don't know that much about the case, but just as a gun owner and common sense gun stuff, none of it makes sense from a responsible gun owner perspective at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like Alec Baldwin, so this was not the outcome I was hoping or expecting, but whatever.
Well, and then the last big news was Trump appears to have named the top 4 candidates for the vice presidency. This is his words.
Okay, but
those are his words. But like I said, it appears he doesn't actually say anything. Like, he just says a couple of names. He doesn't accredit them as the the top candidates.
Let me find the clip here and I'll play it, because I'm pretty sure Trump isn't picking any of these guys, but we'll
I hope he's not. I really hope
right?
he's not.
Yeah, literally none of those dudes excited me. I was like, no.
The opposite of excite me. They piss me off.
This is from. Hold on, let me just play the clip here.
Yep.
Can I, Paul?
Yeah.
Can I bounce a Q thing I came up with off of you?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
now wait. Now that we're talking about this, it's even crazier. All right, so Trump just came out and said on the 17th he's going to announce his VP, right, at the RNC. So I looked at the date, 7/17/24, and I thought it was odd that there's a 17 in there and it goes both ways. So then I looked at the 17 and the 7, 24, because I saw the 24 and immediately numbers just pop in my head. And so I thought 24/24. I looked up Q Post 2024, 24/24, and it's a November 5th Delta, which is interesting.
Wow.
And it says trolling the fake news media is fun. And then it says y'all are just begging for disclosure at this point. Huge obvious air cue. Are you kidding me? Let's do this. And then it says POTUS really made that one obvious, didn't he? Excuse me. It was the end that sealed it. So now that we bring up the vice president pick here and naming 4 candidates that may be,
that's pretty interesting.
And it's trolling the fake news media is fun.
That's pretty dasting. There's a new Q for Dummies coming out tomorrow that has a whole shitload of November 5th deltas in it that are really interesting if they're coming from a future proves past perspective.
It kind of applies to this VP announcement thing too. Maybe he's just trolling the media with these very ho-hum, names that we're all kind of disappointed in, and maybe come 17th he drops it.
Hold on while
what was the Q drop, CanCon?
24/24.
Okay, Paul, you're gonna have to break this down, because I don't think. Hold on, we'll come back and listen to that clip in a second. It's this, because the middle part where it says y'all are just begging for disclosure, that's not Q, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Q says trolling the fake news media is fun. And then, okay.
That's an anon in the middle saying y'all are just begging for disclosure at this point. And so Q bookending it with the trolling the fake news media, then POTUS really made that one obvious, didn't he?
Okay, so I wonder if there's they obviously must be referring to an air Q Trump did.
Right. Okay. He's actually popped off a couple of those fairly recently as well. I wouldn't say in the last week, but we've definitely shown a couple within the last 2 or 3 weeks on Eye of the Storm.
Yeah, I like to call them air titties, but
I like air titties. Yeah, air titties is fun.
To each their
Works
own.
for me too.
Okay. Yeah, air boobs. Nothing wrong with air boobs, man.
Okay, let's play this this clip, because this is on an interview with, I don't remember who, Buck or something. Yeah, Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show. It's kind of towards the end, but it's like a 2-minute clip. We'll listen to the whole thing.
Pick yet, And second part of that, have you decided on how the vice president is going to be announced?
I'd love to do it during the convention. You know, the Republican convention's a big deal. And in the old days, they used to do it that way. Now technology makes it more difficult. I say, no, it's supposed to make it easier. It makes it actually more difficult, if you can believe it. But I'd love to do it during the convention, which would be, you know, or just slightly before the convention, like Monday. Love to do it on Tuesday or Wednesday, actually. But for a lot of complex reasons that you people understand, you pretty much don't do that. And I have some really, really good candidates, and you know, maybe leaning one way, and that changes sometimes. You know, all of a sudden you see something that you like or you don't like, and you lean a little bit differently. But we have some very good. We have a very good bench. We have a very good bench.
How would you announce it? Do you call up everybody? Like, how many finalists would you say you have right now? And is it like a job offer? Do you call them up? Do you bring them in person? Have you thought about how you would convey that offer?
I actually love this question. Like, he totally should bring them all on stage and then like get the tray of roses and like do the Bachelor style, like
totally
each or however you do it. Give them a rose to the one that stays. Be so funny.
A lot of baseball references in there.
You know,
it's like a highly sophisticated version of The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Okay, if you think about it. And they're great people. They're really good. I got to know them very well. I'd say 4 people, you know, 4 or 5 people, but I got to know them very well. Some dropped out over the course of, they didn't drop, you know, there were reasons why they wouldn't have done as well.
So it's still open though, sir. You're telling us that it's not necessarily a done deal in your mind. Is that right? You're still thinking it over.
I'm going into great detail. But more ultimately, it's more of an instinct. You know, you develop an instinct. But
we'll stop here. We got more. He's going to get into the names, but if you don't think that Trump doesn't already know and hasn't already known for like a long ass time who this pick is going to be,
thank you.
He's actually said he's actually said it like months ago. Like,
dude,
I didn't know who it's going to be.
He was on GoldCo like toward the end of January, beginning of February. And GoldCo flat out asked him then, I'll see if I can find this clip before we go off Liberty Den tonight. But GoldCo asked him then, he's like, do you know who it's going to be yet? And Trump's like, yeah, I know who it is. And GoldCo said, well, can you tell us? And obviously Trump said no, but I'll tell you, it's somebody that's going to revolutionize the position. It's not just going to be a figurehead of a vice president. Those were his words on that GoldCo interview. And that was like back in January, February. He's like, I already know who it is. This is all. Yeah. There's no way we're 4 months out from this election, and he's still trying to pick who his VP is. Come on. That's theater.
You know, he's building the drama, and you know, and I just have to think, if he's building the drama like this, if he really like just drops a you know, just a whatever ho hum name on everybody, I think it'll be such a huge letdown from all the drama he's building.
I think I found that clip. This might be it.
Talking of your picks, I've been told who you're considering as vice president.
That's it.
Told I can't announce it until it's official. When are you thinking of making that announcement, sir?
No hurry, and there is no one person. I mean, I'll tell you, there are numerous people, but we have a lot of great people in the Republican Party. We have a lot of great people that nobody ever heard of in the Republican Party.
See that second part right there. It's fucking Robert O'Brien.
Robert O'Brien, yeah,
wow, that would be fire.
But anyway, let's come back to this clip. And he's about to name the candidates, and the fact that he names these people, that's like, to me, in my opinion, the kiss of death. Like, it's none of these people that he's about to name.
Totally.
I like to know all the facts before the instinct kicks in. The people are fantastic. Like, I watched Tim Scott on television yesterday. He was fierce and great. He was great. I watched Marco over the weekend on television. He was incredible. JD's been great. You have a man named Burgum, who's a fantastic governor in North Dakota. And, you know, it's a state that's very, very prosperous, very successful. And he's done a good job there. You have some terrific people.
I mean, think about how he does that. He's like, I already know who it is, but here are 4 people that are awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
and remember earlier in that interview right there, he says 4, and then he goes, well, 4 or 5 people, right? He made a point to correct himself and say 5 people. So he just named 4. So it's probably the 5th, which he didn't name.
And earlier in the interview, he says, well, I'd love to announce it at the RNC. He didn't say he was going to. So I don't know, man. You know, you've seen a couple of people post about Trump. But John, I even think maybe you were one of the ones that posted about that. Like, Trump has basically weaponized this decision now. He can unleash it and change the news cycle whenever he wants to. But why disrupt the news cycle from shitting all over Biden? What if Carter kicks it fairly soon? You know, dudes, if Carter were to die this month in the 17th month of hospice, I don't even know what I would think at that point. I mean, it's who knows what's going to happen, man. I try to guess what's going to happen all the time, and I'm usually always wrong. So I don't try to postulate what's going to happen. But there are so many things up in the air right now that could.
Lost John.
I think John's like, man, screw these guys. They're getting too QE. But no, man, I don't know what's going to happen. But how interesting would it be if, you know, we see Carter kick it, and then maybe same happens to Biden, and they've got state funerals they can swim in for sympathy and sympathy votes, and to keep the news cycle away from Trump's VP pick. So maybe that's part of the reason Trump hasn't announced yet is he knows they have a couple more cords they could pull to perhaps take away from that news, and he's trying to make them expend the ammo first. So it's going to be really interesting, man.
Yeah, we have World War III right around the corner too. About 3 weeks removed from that being kind of announced.
Right.
You know, I watched a documentary. I think it was called Trump, the American Dream. Not necessarily flattering, but for somebody that knows the Trump movement, you would understand the whole documentary. But there's a scene in there, like they go through his whole life from childhood to the winning the presidency. And at one point when they're talking about his 2016 campaign, I believe they had a campaign manager on that says, you know, Trump was going on Twitter and just putting out random messages and seeing what was getting the most feedback, the most generation and all that stuff. I'm praying to God that he's not considering any of those 4 people seriously, because holy swamp. But there's a possibility he puts those names out. He's got access to all of Truth's back-end data. You can buy the Twitter data. There's no question he's reading the metrics on what's being said right now about those people. And like I said, I'm praying that the negative feedback I'm seeing from everybody on X about those 4 is enough to say, no thanks, which makes me nervous because the only guy who's getting a little bit of positive feedback is JD Vance.
What'd you just break, man?
My dog knocked a book off the couch.
What do you do that? What do you do that for?
Because he stood up.
All right, that's fair enough. But yeah, what were they were? It was Burgum and Vance and Scott and Youngkin
Rubio.
and Rubio. And yeah, no.
Please no.
No, the only one of those. I mean, it's not like I hate those guys, but I don't want to see those guys in that position, man. I don't necessarily trust any of them either.
I'd be shocked if he just named who the guy is going to be in that group of 4 right there. I'd be shocked if it's any one of those 4. The fact I agree with John. It's like the fact that he named them is the kiss of death. And I still go back to, like, he did say 4 or 5 people, you know, not, this isn't your top 4. There might be 5. And, you know, of course there's 5. There's no way he's picking one of those.
Yeah. I totally think it's going to be somebody nobody's really talked about en masse. Like that's where General Flynn or Robert O'Brien, guys like that come into account. Like it would be a shocking pick, but you'd hear the name. And for me as a Q guy, if it's Flynn, that's like, oh shit, here we go. It's about to get real. Yep. Because then that's like the veil's coming off. Like, here we go. This is everything we told you was going to happen. And not just that, but the Flynn pick would be arguably the biggest fuck you to the traitors that have tried to take over this country. So selfishly, I kind of want it to be that. If it's not him, then it is what it is. O'Brien would be straight fire too because of his involvement, everything behind the scenes. So we don't know, but I agree with you, Jay, that the ones, if he's naming them by name, it's like a kiss of death.
Yeah, and you know, if it is Flynn, I think it's kind of ironic the timing with this Alec Baldwin trial, you know, because it puts Flynn's name back in the spotlight. People will look into what happened to Flynn. I'm sure Trump would highlight what happened to Flynn, and it's the exact opposite of just what happened to Alec Baldwin.
Right.
You know, literally hanging on to a case that the DOJ was dismissing. I mean, so we're not even going to prosecute this anymore, and the judge wouldn't let it go. So I think that would be a pretty damn cool synchronicity of events.
That's
None,
go ahead, Brian.
well, I was just going to say, none of those candidates that he named, those 4 people that he named, none of them bring anything to the table for him. Rubio's from Florida, Scott's from South Carolina, Burgum is from North Dakota, and Vance is from Ohio. He won all 4 of those states handedly.
Right. He doesn't need any of them. And then then there's the Florida thing, right? There would be little extra hurdles they'd have to go through from 2 from the same state. I think it's none of those guys.
But I also don't think we're going to see an announcement until after the DNC convention. It would make no sense to pick a candidate, a running mate right now when you don't even know who your opponent is.
From a strategic standpoint, with the news cycle being so heavy against Biden and the DNC right now, why would you want to stop that?
Right.
Why would you want to disrupt that? Like, just keep it in your back pocket until you need it. I mean, I'm with John. I absolutely believe he already knows who it is and has for months. And it's like, so why rush it? You already know who it is. You've probably already had multiple communications with the dude setting up your stuff for when you roll into office. There's no reason to rush it, man. And the more you hold off on it, the more they start panicking, wondering who it really is. It really is a win. It's almost hard to accept because we've been shit on so hard for 8 years, but we really are kind of in a win-win situation right now. We have to. That's why I'm so ardent about you guys. We've got to keep pushing forward. Do not take your foot off the gas. Like, this period of time right now is kind of what we've all been waiting for 8 years. Like, our time to kind of, lack of a better analogy, we're like a pride ready to pounce. Like, we see it. Like, it's right there. Like, that light at the end of the tunnel to get rid of these assholes, it's right there. We can do it. And we're seeing clues everywhere that it is going to happen. Still got to do our part, man. And that's what excites me, is the feeling is starting to ramp up. Everybody I'm talking to is like, hey, I'm starting to feel more and more hopeful. And you would think, with as shit show as everything's been around us, that people would be doomed the fuck out. I don't know many people in my personal life right now that are full of doom. Everybody that's coming to me, or every comment I'm seeing in shows, is like, man, I just feel this hope and this calm right now, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, so even some of my normie friends are really, really optimistic right now. And I think part of it is just because, they're the ones that pay attention to the mainstream media, and they've been screaming like, oh my God, can't they see how like demented Joe is? And now they're finally getting the truth from the media, so to speak, and they feel like relief, like, okay, you guys see it too. And I think that's comforting to them. It's, a little different than why we're feeling so comfy, but at least it's given them some, a little reason to be positive and not be such black pillars.
Speaking of black pillars, Alpha's here. Nice to see you, man.
I was just enjoying the way John holds that mic that I've never seen any other man hold the mic.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. What up, Jay, man? I haven't talked to Jay in a good minute.
Yeah, what's happening, Alpha? How have you been, man?
Good, man. I was listening to the conversation you guys were having around the VP, and you guys had me a couple times like, yeah, and then all of a sudden, no, fuck, no. Yeah. So I was.
Well, by the way, Alpha, I might be out your way tomorrow, so if you're around this weekend, we'd love to get.
Let me know, dude. We'll go grab lunch or something. Go get.
Okay, I'll exchange info after the show if you're still on.
Heck yeah.
Well, that's cute. Which parts did you say hell no to, Alpha?
Pretty much everything that wasn't Flynn.
Yep.
Okay, I'm totally on board with the Flynn thing.
I can see. So the O'Brien one, I could be like, all right. I wouldn't be happy, but I could be like, oh, right. I could see where it's going. But outside of that, there's not a whole. I mean, I'm gonna vote for Trump. Pretty much the only thing he can really do right now to piss me off is jack up the VP pick.
Why would that matter what he does? Like, are you saying you know better than Trump?
What I'm saying is that it's time to give the people something that goes beyond the scope of just regular geopolitics. We say information war. We say all this stuff is taking place beyond the current. We're getting our asses kicked at the southern border. We're getting our asses kicked in the school system with the taxes. Like, we're getting our asses kicked. So if you're telling us you mean business and you're telling us you're going to drain the swamp, then that means the very first pick you need to do is something that ain't got shit to do with the swamp. And if you fail to do that, you're going to piss a lot of people off, including myself. I'm still going to vote for him because there is no other alternative, but I'm going to be very pissed when I cast that vote too.
I just don't understand why you'd be pissed over it at this point. Like, you think something bigger is going on, don't you?
I think something very big is going on.
But you think Trump could still mess up he could still do something that would upset you because
Yes.
like I just don't understand the anger.
My interpretation of the Patriots are in control, I think, is different from a lot of people. When I hear, white hats are in control, Patriots are in control, the clandestine operations control, what I'm hearing is they have the ultimate control of smashing that red button if they need to pause the game and say, okay, here's the full disclosure of what's going on. But that being said, I kind of disagree with a lot of people's take on some of the stuff we're seeing at the southern border. Some of the stuff that we're seeing that's taking place is part of the clandestine white hat operation. The reason I feel that way is because I know actual people who are dying in that process. And if killing civilians is part of the operation, I don't agree with it. I don't.
See, I'm on the same page as you there.
I'm on the same page there, but it's not necessarily that white hats are even killing civilians. There's a larger plan at place, and if they know something is happening that is causing collateral damage or death, and disrupting it to stop that would in turn disrupt the larger operation at place, I don't think they would do that.
They have to, and this is why they have to. We have never operated in the military, at least on the public view. We have never done anything in the military where we're going to scope an operation around, hey, yeah, this is the civilian casualties from our own country that are going to take place, and we're going to be okay with it. We won't. We'll conjure up another operation. We'll run the military operation differently. We don't have anywhere in our military book where we're going to sacrifice our own civilians as part of an operation plan.
But this is, again, the assumption that any of us know better or know the full details of what's going on, right? Like,
I agree with you. But at that point, then, is if when he did his inauguration, if he was giving America back to the people, and the whole scope of this is to give everything back to the people, then you need to stop treating the people like you know better for them at every turn in the journey.
Right. I don't disagree with that, but I think as well, a lot of people do overlook the fact we're at war. This isn't fun and games. There's literally a war going on right now, and there's always death and unfortunate shit in a war. And I think that I agree with you, Alpha, that far too many people say, look, everything's good. Okay. And that actually does get to me, because it's like, no, there's just as people in my real world situation have been affected by this shit. So it's like, to me, it's like, that's not fake or gay. That's real. It's obviously the narratives are all bullshit and fake and gay, but the real world effects of people dying are very, very real. And that's, a lot of people have kind of sidestepped the fact that we're in a war. This is just a different kind of war than the world has ever seen, because the whole boots on the ground with tens of thousands of people going into another country is kind of obsolete at this point. They don't need to do that anymore. So it's people overlook them.
But they are doing it here.
Yeah, they are.
That.
Yeah, they are. They're absolutely doing it here. That's why do you think they haven't closed the border? That's their way. If you want to,
it's just, I guess where I'm on it, Paul, is I agree. Like, this country's at war. When a lot of us signed the contract to go serve, we did so with the mindset that we'll go fight on foreign soil. So this way an American never has to fight on American soil. That way that fight's never here. But unfortunately, that fight's here. It is on our soil. Like, I don't contest that at all. But at the same time, if we know that there's going to be American civilian casualties, then you owe it to every American to at least be able to be like, well, I don't want to just be cannon fodder. Give me the choice that either I'm going to fight or I won't fight, and I'll be subjected to slavery or die. But if you're just going to consistently make moves where you determine who's going to live and who's going to die, then you're exchanging one tyranny for another. Because even if it looks good and we do get control, the control came at doing things that, on the foundation of what this country represents, well, we're not okay with that either. Like, we have to win, but we can't sacrifice our soul in the process.
Okay, but I understand what you're saying, Alpha, and this is a discussion we've had many times on the Power Hour about the morality of like devolution and something like devolution being in play. Trump, we believe Trump had to walk away, even though he didn't need to, after the inauguration, right? He put some sort of mechanism in place. We don't know the full details of what. We don't know exactly why, but we believe, and when I say we, I'm just saying I believe he did so because the alternative would have been much worse for the country. They had planned riots everywhere, a small-scale civil war. Civil war in this country would have been even worse with our enemies in the world, like whatever. So they walk away, they put whatever mechanism in place, and those mechanisms are doing the best they can based on the feasibility, the financial stability, whatever. We don't know. We don't know the details. But whose fault is it that the people are coming across the border? It's not the Patriots' fault. Is it?
Patriots as in the white hats, or Patriots like in all of us?
No, I'm saying the Patriots in the white hats. So like, yes, by not interdicting in Biden's inauguration, like the whole thing could have been prevented, but we don't know what they knew about what could have been worse.
Yeah, and I agree.
Even so, it's the Democrats' fault and their policies that the border is open and bad things are coming across, which ironically is part of the awakening too.
And I agree with that 99%. The 1% where I deviate a little bit is one of the reasons that the Democrats are still getting away with it and creating it, is because the burn rate of the awakening is being kind of controlled by the white hats too.
Why do you say that?
Well, a lot, and this is just speculation from me. I could be completely wrong here. I think that a lot of the censorship that we have seen hasn't been completely on the dark side. When you look at kind of who was talking about what and who got censored, I think the white hats were kind of controlling the burn rate to make sure this thing kind of stayed on a timeline that they were kind of maneuvering to. I don't think the censorship completely came from the black side.
I actually agree with that.
I feel that 100%. I mean, that Badlands here has been ridiculous. But
actually, an interesting point that kind of helps that point along is everybody in Badlands, to my knowledge, has their original Twitter accounts back, except for me and Stormy Joe. So everybody has their original Twitter accounts back, except for the two dudes that run the Q show. It's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it means, but it kind of props up Alpa's point.
Okay,
I completely agree with what you guys are saying. It's just my frustration is that if we know that there's going to be civilian loss on our side, we should at least give these people the benefit of having a chance to survive if they choose to. And when we do kind of control that narrative, I feel like we're kind of giving people, a negative handicap, going into that fight. But one of the ways to counter that is to every now and then, like, say you're putting your foot down. And I think a General Flynn VP pick is that. Plus, I think it's the safest move for Trump to do anyways.
Why? If you're about to, I think you're about to do the argument I think you're going to do, and I'm going to slap you. Tell me.
Insurance policy.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason right there. It's if you take out Trump, Flynn steps in as president. Like, stand the fuck by.
Okay, but so what you're saying is they will not assassinate Trump because the VP would be worse for them. Then why would we not have that VP person be president in the first place? Because that person is clearly the better pick.
Because the straw that breaks the camel back is them taking Trump out. That's the maneuver you can't survive. You do that, and
dude, that's so illogical. Like,
no, it's not, because look, it's the court of public. We have the Constitution, and I completely subscribe to that, and I'll sacrifice my life for it. But if there's moves that have to be made from the good side that are going to go outside the scope of the Constitution, you need to have the court of public opinion behind that. And what have we seen for the last pretty much 7 years now? Is our side has been law-abiding. They've been taking the punches, taking the slaps, because they want to see that this thing rectifies its way through the legal, through the right way. And if at the end of that, you take out the guy that's been subjected to all this, that's when the moves that happen outside the Constitution happen. And there's one man that can facilitate that, and you're going to have the people that are pissed off enough to support that. And it would be Flynn, man. I mean, it's going to be ugly. I don't want that. But okay. it would be.
I do want to let other people talk, but I want to make a couple points quick first.
Sorry.
Number one, I believe we've already kind of stepped out what we would call the normal constitutional bounds by implementing something like devolution. And so we're already there. And that was before Flynn was in there. Number two, and I want to clarify, I think Flynn would be a great pick. Like, I have no issue with Flynn being the VP. I just think this argument that it's assassination insurance is silly, because if they could take Trump out, they would have already years ago. Like, so that is not a reason for somebody to be VP. They can't take him out the way it is. But then if you're saying that they're not going to assassinate somebody because the VP is worse for them, then he should be our guy in the first place, and he should have ran against Trump in the first place. Like, it doesn't make logical sense.
It makes me nervous us going back to having a military general as president. That's the only thing that gives me hesitation with Flynn as a VP. Is I'm not a big fan of us putting generals back into the presidency. I just kind of feel like we're kind of backed into the corner for that right now. But I'll give it back to you guys. You guys had me all hyped up when I was listening to you guys.
I will say that, I've been following Flynn like super carefully on Twitter, but it seems like his rhetoric has gotten a little more like I'd be going scorched earth, if I was in position and lately. And there would be no bigger middle finger to the deep state than to have General Flynn as your vice president. Because remember, Obama warned Trump, there's 3 people to be, completely terrified of: Putin, Kim Jong-un, or not to trust, I should say, Kim Jong-un, Putin, and General Flynn. So it would be a shot across the bow like no other.
So President Trump,
his email address changed today, unless I'm blind and I just noticed it. But if you guys got the email from Flynn today, it came in as Office of General Flynn. And I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've always found it interesting that General Flynn has a PAC. Generally speaking, if you're going to go into a DNI or NSA position, politicians need PACs, man. But it could be being used for a myriad of other reasons too. There's a lot of noise around that potential signal. I would love it for it to be Flynn. I almost kind of expect it not to be, just because it would almost be too perfect as it relates to the Q drops and everything like that. I really like John throwing the idea of O'Brien out there. That would also signal where we're going. And you got to know the deep staters know who the fuck O'Brien is. So if it's O'Brien, that he's going to make them shit their pants as much as Flynn would. I mean, that guy arguably knows where as many of the bodies are buried as anybody else, right? So ultimately at this point, man, I'm convinced he's already chosen it, and whoever it is probably going to serve a very specific purpose.
Well, he did say that the VP position was going to have a much more prominent role. So in that Gorka interview, right? So whoever it is, it's if it's either one of those guys, I am absolutely cool with that.
Yeah.
Those other 4 he named, no.
Yeah.
Hard no.
Everybody has their selfish reasons for, who they want as VP, and like there are a handful of picks that would be very Devo adjacent, and I'm like all in, or get me excited. I consider them Devo proofs, but at the end of the day, like, there's not a single person that Trump could pick that I would get mad at him over. And that's the thing that's like, to me, Trump, like, I'm very well aware that Trump knows better than any of us, and to get upset at him over something like a VP pick is just, and this goes back to even when we used to talk about Pence all the time. We don't talk about it as much. Maybe some of the audience think we do too much, but people get so pissed off. But it's like, if Trump were to put that guy in there as VP again, you're going to say that, like, better than he does.
I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to be pissed, bro. Like, I'm going to
question. That is a fallback, though, John. I mean, like, I would be like Alpha. I would be pissed, but for like a minute, and then I would think, Trump knows what he's doing. This is part of the plan, and I have 100% faith in the plan. So I would roll with it. It would be a little disappointing.
It's so funny to me, though. It's like a lot of these people are like full control, but then Trump picks somebody, and they're like, "God damn it! Like, what are you doing? Like, what?"
Yeah, totally.
Well, and Brian knows. How many times were you in theater, Brian, where they gave us an order where, like, this is fucking retarded? We did it, we executed it, but we weren't happy about it. And I kind of have that same ideology. Like, nothing's going to stop me from taking a bullet for the man or laying my life down for him, but that don't mean there's some things that aren't going to piss me off. But then again, like, even with the Pence thing, and this is complete speculation that I don't believe, but what if it turns out that Pence was a good guy the whole time and he was just playing a role for the whole entire thing? And that's where it goes back to, he does know more than us.
That'll be fine.
I actually believe that.
He was.
Sorry, Alpha.
Doing that. CanCon, you've been really quiet. I want to know, who are you? Are you Tulsi or something?
No. I'm Flynn all the way. I just don't agree with the argument that Flynn would be better, so why make him VP? I think that's kind of a retarded argument, to be honest. Scott Rubio, like everybody he named is the epitome of the swamp. Minus, like I said,
who made the retarded argument? Clarify that.
I think the argument that if Flynn is an insurance policy to Trump, that why don't we just elect Flynn? I think that's a boneheaded argument because, like, you get an insurance policy for your house if it burns down. I would much rather have my house than the insurance policy money, but the insurance policy is there just to make sure that if it does happen and I lose my house, I still have something left to start over with.
That's a different argument because insurance is like in case something burns down. But what they're saying is that the insurance policy will prevent the house from burning down. That's not what insurance does.
No. But there's more incentive to do it if it's somebody like a Marco Rubio or a Doug Burgum on deck, as opposed to a General Flynn. If you put in General Flynn, if you take Trump out, you weaponize Flynn well beyond anything you can imagine, and I think he's going to go on a vengeance tour. Whereas the other guys will be more like an LBJ. They'll just roll over and be like, "Oh, well, that really sucks. CIA, get me that magic bullet." And look, guys, it's a magic bullet. Oh, hey, by the way, Comey, you want to head up the Warren, not the Warren Commission. You want to head up the commission to look into JFK's assassin. Anyways, you know where I'm getting at with that.
Well, I got to disavow this because you called me boneheaded and retarded and misquoted me all in the same
I didn't
thing,
call you that. I didn't call you.
You called the argument, but then you misquoted the argument in general. Like
not really.
You did.
I just defined with the insurance policy why I think it's an insurance policy.
But there's a difference between an insurance policy and a preventative. And the argument being made, they call it an insurance policy, but they say they won't take out Trump because Pence is there. That's not insurance.
What
That's
Brian
preventative.
Like if the insurance, like let's say, the insurance policies right now they don't give you back the exact money for your house. But let's just say the insurance policy was 95% of the cost of the house. You would see the insurance companies then make sure that the surrounding areas like wildfires, well, let's just make sure they're doing what they got to do because we don't want these houses to burn down because if they do, we're going to get screwed in this insurance policy. I think it's like that kind of concept.
It's just
right. I did start the argument defining my concept of the insurance plan. So to be fair there.
Okay. But
put this way, John, if you're the deep state and you're deciding whether to take out Trump or not, you got to factor everything in. And if you have somebody that your side is so terrified they warned Trump not to trust him, just like you shouldn't trust Putin or Kim Jong-un. I mean, this is a guy they fear. He knows where the bodies are buried. So having that guy, a gunshot away from president, right? That is at least one more factor that would weigh heavily against taking Trump out. It's not like a guarantee, but it's one more thing that would maybe give them a little pause.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing is like, in my opinion, a silly argument to begin with, because I truly do believe if they had the capability to take Trump out in the first place, it would have happened a long time ago. I mean, look at what they've gone through because Trump has been president and then the opponent, the leading political opponent.
Do you think it's possible, John, that they could save trying to take him out until we start to approach the elections because they know that would create a civil war to speak, and that would give them enough of what they want to delay the elections, and that's why they haven't done it yet?
No, I legitimately don't think they can, because if they had the capability, knowing how these people operate and the people they have taken out, like they don't care about the legality, they don't care about the morality, and they don't care about the ramifications. They will do whatever the fuck they want at any time as long as it benefits them. If they could have taken out Trump, who has done so much, and like the trouble that they're in just by trying to remove Trump through other channels like Russiagate and impeachment and COVID and stealing an election and all these other things, putting how many indictments against this guy, like all the bullshit that they've had to do on their side illegally just to try to remove this guy. I really truly believe that if they could have just assassinated him, knowing that the deep state has assassinated people in the past, and probably what was the most recent assassination? The Japan guy? I don't know. Like, these people aren't afraid to kill people, and world leaders, JFK, like, they would have done it.
So I think that that would be an absolute last resort. I think they still have the infrastructure in place to steal the election if it comes down to it, if it boils down to it. In the meantime, they'll try and destroy him in every single way they can until they have to do that. And that would be, almost the 0 hour, the 11th hour, so to speak. I think Paul, you guys were playing a bunch of Biden clips today, or maybe it was us on Daily this morning, but Joe Biden is making a tremendous amount of references in his press conference to the same quote he did in 2020. We've put together the most extensive election fraud in history, except now he got it right. Politically speaking, he's saying we've put together the most extensive campaign in American history. It's like he finally got the wording right this time, but he's doing it by saying, I don't think we're going to lose. I don't think there's any way we're going to lose. I don't think we've put together the most extensive campaign in history. Whoever comes in is going to have to deal with that. I mean, that was a hat tip to Maxine Waters. So, right. Yeah.
I think it's interesting to me that in 2016, Trump's language was, we're going to win. We're going to take Hillary down. We're going to win. Right. In 2020, it was, they're going to steal it. They're going to steal this election. They're going to steal the election. And then in 2024, Trump's like, it's going to be a landslide. We're going to win. We're going to win. So I'm wondering if there's any kind of messaging to that as well in terms of the election coming up. I know, Brian, you and I have talked on Daily, and Joe and I have talked on Eye of the Storm as well about there's certainly been a lot of election integrity measures taken all across the country that really aren't talked about a lot, or are certainly not reported by the MSM. And there's been a lot more elections kind of safeguarded across the country than I think people realize. Now, does that mean that they can't try to steal it or won't try to steal it? I absolutely think they're going to try to steal it again. I personally think that may be a mechanism that starts to shine the light on all of this and really start to turn it around on a dime. I don't know what that means or how it happens, but I absolutely agree with John. They're going to try to steal this shit again. And whether or not, A, they try to steal it, or B, they actually do steal it, it's going to be a losing proposition for them. Because if it's, let's say it is Joe going into November, right? I don't think anybody at this point with the same mind is going to think he can beat Trump. So if he comes out on the winning side of that election, oh man, people are not going to be buying it. Conversely,
especially if there's the same shenanigans, right? Like
right,
the same,
right. The same,
like
we have another fucking broken water pipe. We've got to stop
right.
counting, like shit like that. Conversely, if we get to election night and Trump wins in a landslide, that shines a gigantic spotlight on 2020. You've got 2016 and 2024 with these big victories by Donald Trump, but all of a sudden in 2020, you've got this vegetable with 81 million lawful American votes. Give me a break. I just really think they're screwed. Whatever path they take, they're screwed. And I absolutely agree with John. I think that if they could have assassinated Trump, if they had that kind of power, that kind of ability, I think they would have done it by now. John made a fan. They've never been shy to do it in the past. So,
and I mean, I know we have time left till the election, but it would be arguably easier, much easier to, and I don't even want to say it because FBI shit, but like they could attempt to remove Biden from the board. I'm just giving a hypothetical here, right? Wouldn't that probably be easier than Trump? And then you can put a candidate in there that they could steal it for successfully. You know what I mean?
Not only easier, but it would be.
It would also play to Alpha's point about potential civil war too. If you wait until it's a little closer and something happens there and you plug it on a crazy MAGA domestic terrorist, we all know it's not him. There's plenty of us out there that know it wouldn't be a crazy MAGA terrorist that would be like, okay, this shit's enough. We're hitting the streets. That would be enough to spark something like that. So in one fell swoop, you get to replace your guy with somebody that's more believable to win a stolen election, and you get your public uprising in case you want a fallback reason to cancel said election. It's kind of, it's all also hanging up there right now, man.
Yeah, you also take a lot of ammunition away from Trump. He can't be harping about how Biden's the worst president ever when people are like feeling bad because he just croaked. So it solves a lot of problems for them. That makes a lot more sense. The other thing with any kind of assassination is you make a martyr out of that other person potentially. Trump is a 1,000 times stronger if he's taken out in a violent manner like that. So I think that's probably something they think about as well before they choose to do something like that. Also, too, if you believe the Q drops, there have been assassination attempts on Trump and they were thwarted. So I do think he's very well protected. I think they wanted to and they tried and they couldn't. And now they're kind of in a place where if they did it now, it would just make the whole MAGA movement, the whole America First movement just so much stronger and way beyond Trump.
And I do apologize. I'm pretty much just arguing for the sake of the logic of it. Like,
Right.
I don't care either way in any of this. So I'm kind of being a dick. And you guys probably notice I do that a lot. But yeah, anyway.
It's a good mental exercise to go through.
Yeah, I often play the bad cop on Eye of the Storm with Joe, just because if everybody's sitting there agreeing, that's a pretty lame ass conversation.
Yeah, then it gets boring.
Yeah, I play good cop, bad cop, depending which side of Switzerland BB is playing that night. You know.
Do you guys think that in 2016, when Trump won, it really is because we showed up in numbers they weren't expecting and they couldn't compensate for it?
100%.
Or do you think the white hats stole the steal? Like we
I
had the numbers. We had the numbers regardless. Like I believe our numbers to show up were massive. But do you really think that the deep state couldn't have continued to steal it or didn't continue to try to steal it?
I think the ability for them to steal it was severely hampered or shut off. I don't necessarily think that white hats stole the election for Trump. That would kind of play into what you were just saying a minute ago about not using these kind of operations against your own people. I know that wouldn't involve death, but you're still kind of altering people's votes, and that messes with your sovereign right as an individual. I don't see white hats doing that, right? So what I can see them doing is saying, we've kind of figured out how they're doing this. We're going to shut off a few of these machines in key areas, just to make sure that whatever the vote is there, that's the vote. If it would have went for the Democrats there, the white hats probably would have let that stand because it was the vote. But as we saw, that wasn't how people voted in 2016. I kind of think we're going to head toward the same thing. Maybe I'm a little overly optimistic thinking we head toward that in November. I don't know, man, but I'd love to see a better than repeat of 2016. Let's go full blown Reagan Mondale. Why not?
Yeah. I always look to Trump's actual words, and he is saying we are not going to allow them to steal it, which implies that in 2016, they did the opposite. They didn't allow them to steal it. And in 2020, they did allow them to steal it. So I that's where I, see patriot control. I think that they do have, however they do it, be it technological or whatnot, or just in certain key areas, like Paul was saying, they have the ability to shut down some of the tools they use to steal the election. And in 2024, they would have to go so much further than they did in 2020. And there's so many more eyes on it. And there's so many more people expecting it. So much harder to pull off. So they'll try. I mean, they'll do everything they can. They're desperate right now. But I just think that that's what patriot control means to me. And I think when Trump is saying we're not going to allow them to steal it, that's what he's talking about.
Brian, I want you to go next. I want to go last on this one.
I'm too busy in the chat because they're saying that I think Ben Carson is swamp, and that is couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
He's been my pick since 2016,
Guys,
and then
Brian,
Donald Trump came, and I jumped on there. Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, Brian doesn't think that Carson can be VP because he's black. That's what you said, right?
That is absolutely not true. I don't think Carson has the fire for what we need right now. He is my pick. Underneath Donald Trump is Ben Carson for me.
He'd be a good pick too.
My favorite argument against Carson is he's kind of slow and dim-witted. I'm over here like he's a fucking neurosurgeon. What do you mean he's slow and dim-witted?
The dude separated two people that are joined. Yeah.
Did he do that surgery? Like on the?
Yeah, he was the first person to do it.
No way.
Yes. That's his claim. I'm pretty sure he was the first person to do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's slightly impressive, I guess. I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know if it's hard, but
I tried it a couple times. Didn't go well. I gave up.
I used a samurai sword, and it didn't turn out too well.
But Kankan, I want you to respond to this. Do you think? What was the question again, Alpha?
That's a good fucking question.
What was your question? That's a good question.
So in 2016, I truly believe in my heart the numbers are what they were. But I also believe that if the deep state was willing to do what they did in 2020 to still steal it when we had the numbers, they were probably trying to do it back then. So when I say that the white hats stole it, I don't mean like they fabricated, votes and stuff. I just mean like they inhibited the ability for them to steal it in 2016 by stealing the steal is what I meant. So, do you think it was just us breaking the algorithms they weren't prepared for? Or do you think that there was other mechanisms of like white hats being involved with it?
No, in 2016, I think it was they underestimated how popular Donald Trump actually was. They didn't think that it was gonna, and the polls were all saying the polls are fake and gay. That Joe Biden's now admitting that And the polls were all saying Hillary by landslide and all this other stuff. And we're all looking around like, dude, we see the Trump flags, we see the rallies, we see all this stuff. There's no way. And so obviously Trump won it. 2020, they realized that, holy shit, these last 3 years have been pretty damn badass. They manufactured this Wuhan flu. They Runbeck was already buying printers before the flu was even out there. They're buying mail-in ballot printers to the tune of several $1 million. They're putting all the infrastructure in place. COVID hits, they lock us down. We start getting sick of it. And, finally by election day, we're like, this is bullshit. Like, this isn't a real thing, but they keep pushing it on us. They go to the universal mail-in ballots thinking that was going to be enough, and it still wasn't enough. The mail-in ballots by themselves were not enough. That's when the machine shut down in the middle of the night, and they literally made up numbers. Moving on to this year, depending on who's the nominee, this is why I think they have to change it, because they have to have that honeymoon phase so that they can control the narrative. They have to throw in a Gavin Newsom or a Gretchen Whitmer or a Hillary Clinton and say that people are really enthused about this, and that's why they're going out and voting, to justify the numbers that they're going to have to make up for Joe Biden. Meanwhile, I still think there's a possibility that we see some sort of a black swan event, whether it's H5N1 just really going full bore right before the election. We've talked about this on Daily. Whatever happens is going to happen. If it's a disease, is going to have to happen right before the election, because we're not going to buy that shit like we did in 2020. And then I always think there's the possibility that we don't even have an election. And I don't know if that's a World War III scenario or what that is. But yeah. 2016 was organic.
I agree with you, CanCon. It's very rare I say that, so we should maybe take a moment of silence or something.
Well, it has to do with elections. I would expect a little bit of agreement with the one subject that I'm like the most out there on.
100%. But the way I look at 2016 compared to 2020 is they needed to manufacture, like pretty much everything you said, manufacture a fake pandemic in order to implement the mail-in voting, like Trump said, to backfill the machine. And even that wasn't enough. And then they ended up just covering the whole thing up. I don't think they had the infrastructure in place in 2016 because they believed their own polling. And I do think a lot of the things, like, even though I haven't read the Q drops, but that, and in order for Trump to implement something like devolution, I think he truly needed the will of the people, like the mandate of the people. He needed to legitimately win that. And that doesn't mean they didn't just turn off some cheating, but again, some of the morality questions get raised there. If I don't know, but I fully agree with you, Brian, that he overcame the cheat. I mean, Hillary didn't even campaign him, like, Wisconsin and a couple other states. Like, you shouldn't have won that election. That was insane. And it was a moment in time where people were pissed off. It was perfect. It was a perfect storm. 2020, they stole it.
I couldn't disagree more. I'm just going to go on a limb and say, I think.
Okay, well, we don't need him anymore anyway. So
I will say this, though.
That's brutal. Okay, let me finish. No, but I think they've been stealing elections for decades, and I don't think in an election like 2016 where it's Hillary Clinton for Donald Trump, I don't think they were going to. Their internal polling, they knew the popularity of Donald Trump, and even though it wasn't being reflected in the fake polling, but I don't think they would have risked it. The same reason they don't want Donald Trump in office now existed then. He knows where the bodies are buried. Like Hillary said in Donna Brazil's book, right? She said if he gets in office, he'll have us hanging from nooses.
Okay, so but can I ask you a question?
So let me just say this. Do you think that they would just risk it, or do you think that Hillary's overconfidence was so extreme that she knew the fix was in? She knew she couldn't lose. She didn't even have a concession speech prepared. So she loses. And I do think that we overwhelmed the polls and all that stuff, but I also think there was some white hat help in stopping the steal, which I don't think there's any morality question to that. It's not cheating. It's not stealing the steal. It's just stopping some of their mechanisms enough for Trump to legitimately win. Stopping the steal isn't the same thing as cheating. It's a very different thing. It's stopping someone else from cheating. So I just think that there was some white hat intervention in 2016 and not in a nefarious way, but in a good way. And I think they're going to do the same thing in 2024. That's awesome.
Let me throw this out there, because I agree they've been stealing elections, especially I think in the
primaries,
the lower level races for a long time. But thinking back, they stole Obama from Mitt Romney, both assholes, both deep state, or Obama from, was it McCain? Like both deep state. Who was before that? Bush from Al Gore.
It's all deep. They're all two sides of the same coin. You're getting the deep state candidate either way.
Exactly. So you don't have to steal those elections.
Level.
You don't have to steal those elections when they're both deep state anyway.
Right.
Like, but this is the first time since arguably JFK or Reagan maybe that they've had a legitimate outsider that wasn't part of the deep state come in and
even with Reagan,
infrastructure in place.
Even with Reagan, they
that's why you steal it.
Even with Reagan, they had one of their biggest deep state stooges right at his hip. So it was they didn't have any reason to not. You know, I'm a firm believer Reagan tried to do what he could, but once they shot his ass, that was kind of that. There was only so much he was going to get done after that point. Like the message was delivered. But to John's point, if you've got two deep state stooges going up against each other, why do you really need to steal it? So I think and that's not dismissing your point, Jay. I think they've been stealing the local stuff, the state level stuff, primaries, things of that nature for ages to shape the House, the Senate, courts.
And by the way, I still think those other elections were rigged too, even with the two deep state stooges on the ballot. I think every 8 years they give it to the other side to keep the other side, keep us believing the big lie that we're a 50-50 country. So, it's 51-49 to the Republican this year. And then the next election, it's 51-49 to the Democrat. So I think everything about it is rigged, especially at the primary level. So that's how you ensure you have two deep state stooges on the ballot to begin with. So you can't lose either way, but I think they've known how to rig elections. So I think in 2016, there was too much writing on having an outsider like Trump potentially getting into the office. So they tried to steal it. They just weren't able to, which is why the shock and horror of the next day when they realized it didn't work.
So the whole drama around the chats was just to push us in the direction that is full electronic. It had nothing to do with, them not being able to steal the steal. They knew where they wanted to be in 2016.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though, like if they can steal every election, and I guess you make the argument that they turned it off in 2016, but if they can just steal everything, like why does anybody think we have a chance this time around? Unless they just turn it off again, maybe. But
2016 was proof that the white hats are in control.
Yeah.
At the very least, 2016 was proof that it can be done. That the proper.
Yeah. In 2020 was a wake up. It was an intentional. We're going to let you steal it. I don't even think. I mean, to the extent they went to, to pull it off, I don't even think they thought they could get away with it. I think they were expecting a second Trump term immediately. But it was like an Olay thing with, the old Matador trick. And I think now that we're in 2024 and Trump is that much more popular, that much more powerful, going to get that much more votes than he did in either 2016 or 2020, it's making it that much more impossible. And you have so many more people aware of election fraud. I mean, I was sure, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I was sure they were rigging elections, but not to the extent that 2020 opened my eyes to.
And that's why I think the World War III, Civil War, whatever you want to call it, I think that's the contingency. Because they know in 2016 they tried to steal it, they couldn't. They know in 2020 they were allowed to. So they don't know what the hell the white hats are planning for 2024. So the contingency is if they stop us from stealing it like they did in 2016, then what are we going to do about it? And I think that's where I kind of align with Brian on, do we even have a November 5th? Or do they just go to their contingencies saying, we don't want to run the chance of them halting the steal like they did in 2016, so let's just postpone this shit since we don't have control over it.
If they call it the Great Awakening, why would they stop them from stealing it if it's Biden versus Trump? Why would they stop that?
And it won't be Biden versus Trump.
And again, I'm playing devil's advocate, and I fully think it will be, but just curious. If it is Biden versus Trump, and you're the white hats, why would you stop that steal from happening?
Remember, I think there's still, the Trump card is the evidence of the 2020 steal. And I think they can gather that same evidence of 2024. They might let them try to steal it. And then I think they can just drop the evidence immediately, like they didn't do in 2020, and even drop the evidence of 2020 that we've been waiting for a while to be dropped. I think there's a lot of cards that the White Hats can play that counteract whatever the deep state has it planned.
I think we are making a very big mistake. Jay was talking about this earlier about Trump, going on Biden and everything. I think Trump needs to immediately shift his piss and vinegar, so to speak, at Joe Biden and start directing it to the Democrats as a whole, and almost exclusively as a whole. Like almost take Biden completely out of your vocabulary moving forward, because when they do switch it over here, I mean, we all know any candidate they're going to put in there is going to be the same shit, different toilet. And,
so you're saying can get ahead of it and just be like,
yes,
it doesn't matter what face they put there. It's all one same thing. So this way we're all. Yeah.
At this point, there's no longer any reason to go after Joe Biden. He is fully exposed. The emperor has no clothes. We know that. To go after him anymore is just going to pour more fuel in the fire. And I think that's a bad idea. I think the narrative right now that they need to lay is that any Democrat is going to continue with the Green New Deal. It's going to continue pushing for war in Ukraine, going to continue pushing open borders, late term, everything, all the kitchen table bullshit they want us arguing over. They need to start hammering that as a Democrat concept, not a Joe Biden concept.
Well, here's my counter argument to all this is there's two parts to steal an election. Like you actually have to whatever they do with the numbers on the computers to calculate the numbers that, okay, Biden won, whatever. But then you also have to have the media on your side in unison, along with the intel agencies and all these other corporations, whatever, being like, yep, Biden won. Like you need the support in the aftermath of making it believable that, yeah, this person beat Donald Trump, the person they painted as like literally the worst person on earth, right? And so where I come from at this is replacing Joe Biden with anybody that can formulate a sentence the media will be able to successfully pass off as, yep, this person won. And enough people would believe that and be okay with it, even. Like whether it's Gavin Newsom or Gretchen, maybe the only one is Kamala Harris. Another one, maybe Clinton. She's so detestable, I think, for so many people, for so many reasons. But still, like just the fact that the reason they're freaking out right now is because of how bad this is for all things. Like not only will nobody believe that Biden won, but they can't even like get away with a cover up anymore. And you need at least that part to successfully like force people back into their homes, whatever it is. And so that's why I still believe that they're going to stick with Biden. Like, I don't believe in full control like some people do. And we can even have this debate because this would be a fun one. The full control, like some people think he's wearing a mask and whatever, doing literally everything that the Patriots say, or there's a level of control where it's like, yeah, this is him. This is really him. Him being completely incompetent is more so just a cherry on top of the cake, but they can't remove him because he's the guy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't really dig. I don't get into the whole double clone wearing a mask stuff. To me, that's a shiny object. It's taking your attention away from the message being pushed by whoever it is that might be wearing that mask or their narrative that's being deployed. I don't care if they're doubles or wearing masks or if they're clones. I think what's important is to pay attention to what's being said and done and the actions being done around said person. And I tend to agree a little more there as well in the Patriots are in control section. I kind of think it means that from a game theory standpoint, we've got them backed into a corner where there's not much they can do and that they don't have the power to do these big mass attacks like they used to. That's Patriots in control to me. And Alpha said it earlier as well. Patriots in control to me is if the deep state steps over the line and wants to do something that would be a huge mass casualty, say a nuke or whatever, that Patriots pull the plug at that point and say, no, we're not letting you do that shit. Sorry, this ends now. Otherwise, I kind of align with John. I mean, I think they're kind of stuck with Biden. I think that Biden staying in there and the run all the way up to the election, including the election, and them straight up jacking the election in an even more absurd matter than they did in 2020 might serve more of a purpose for the Great Awakening than a straight up clean election where Donald Trump wins. But again, I don't know. I don't dismiss either path. I really don't. That's not me waffling. It's just me. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. It could go either way, really.
I look at if the easiest believable scenario from their perspective is a new player comes in. I think it's going to be Newsom, but whatever, plug in whatever name. And they said, kind of like you said earlier, John, there's enough motivation and excitement behind that. And then the other kind of variable I don't think we've touched on is then you have RFK as the independent. And they say there was enough of the excitement here. And then RFK took other voters from Trump. And this is what made it very close. But the new candidate ends up stealing the win. And people are like, oh, okay, that's believable. I can see how that happens. I think that's what their intentions are.
It's the honeymoon. It's the honeymoon phase.
I want to make a comment about Brian's comment earlier about, Trump needs to start focusing his energy on the Democrat Party as a whole in case, there is a replacement. But I think he's been doing that. I mean, I think after that debate, he's been very restrained. He has not piled on like I would have expected Donald Trump to do. I think that leaked video of him on the golf cart where he said he basically destroyed Joe was kind of his last real comment about that. And that's all that needed to be said. It's done, And he also preempted, with the Kamala would be even more horrible. But I think his tone has kind of been in that direction. So I think you're spot on, Brian.
Hearing him drop an F-bomb made my week, by the way.
Oh, it always makes my week. I love that.
To that point, though, that is one of the reasons why I think there are going to be things that get worse, and they're going to get worse because of Democrat policies like the open border. And this is for the sake of, it's not just the candidate Joe Biden being awful, but it's the Democrat policies are the reason that people are suffering. And couple this with what Trump said on the Hannity interview the other night about there's 100% chance that there's going to be a terrorist attack. That was no small thing for President Trump to say. And so I think, I have to just assume between now and the election, we're going to see something bad because of an open border policy. And it's going to make everybody get in unison, like, okay, this shit has got to stop. Trump's our guy. You know what I mean?
Well, Viktor Orban's people said the same thing. They said that there's going to be something major in the next, what did he say, 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 weeks? But he said the same thing. He said it's going to get really dark.
Yeah. Brian,
Trump has 100% chance. Like that's pretty definite.
Yeah, it's going to be a really dark winter, guys.
Yeah, so I want to push this into a very dark corner. So let me just preface it with this is complete hypothetical for the DOJ that's listening. Brian, using your understanding of the military, and let's just say they know something bad's going to happen, and it's what you're saying, that where everybody finally says enough's enough. If you
DOJ just cut him off, man.
I didn't even do that.
Freaking.
You froze, Alpha.
You froze, dude.
Okay, so maybe that was a divine way of me saying maybe I shouldn't go there.
No,
do you guys want me to continue?
100%.
Well, shit, now I do.
All right.
I want to know what was so powerful that you were going to say that God stopped it in mid-sentence.
Yeah, this is that scene in Pulp Fiction now where she's like, "Oh hell no, you done started to ask the question. You're going to finish."
All right. If you're the White Hats and you know something that bad's going to happen, that everybody's going to get behind it to where they say, okay, enough's enough. What is the American target that you allow to be hit where everybody's makes that feeling that you're saying, but at the same time, we don't take out the wrong people in the process? Because in my head, I know what the answer is, but I'm curious what you would say.
Yeah, what city does Bernie Bright live in again?
That's wrong.
I mean, I'm going to say Nancy Pelosi's mansion or maybe Maxine Waters. Take that out.
I don't want to say it.
Okay, so you're probably thinking what I'm thinking then. So I'll say it, it's a hypothetical. I would see them taking out completely DC. That would scare America enough to be like, holy shit, enough's enough. We better do something about it. And at the same time, the people that are there aren't really going to be missed a whole lot.
I'll take it.
I'm draining the swamp.
I'll take it a step further. What if it's something against?
This is probably not the smartest thing to be discussing, just in case. Like
that's why I said hypothetical.
Yeah,
completely hypothetical.
I'll just say this. I don't think it's going to be whatever's going to happen is not going to be violent. I think it's way too easier to get away with other things nowadays with cyber attacks and everything else like that.
What about
Hold on. Number one, I got to do the disclaimer thing. Does anybody know the full disclaimer? It's like Badlands Media.
We disavow violence and
we disavow whatever. We do not necessarily agree with all the comments or whatever from our host. Alpha, that was the fettiest questions you could have asked. My eyes are like,
that's why.
Which place would you think could get exploded?
Well, that's why I preface it with it's a complete hypothetical because
hey,
I don't
Jay, he needs your shirt.
I don't have.
He needs your. I'm not wearing a wire shirt.
Never go. Oh, the wire shirt. I thought I'd never go full retard, but no, that's.
But just I mean, I don't advocate for violence. No one on this panel does, and every one of you guys that I've ever talked to has always been legal, and I say legal. Right. But what I'm saying is, they did say, when I interviewed one of the gentlemen that works at the southern border, he did say that number is somewhere between 12 million and 30 million illegals that have come through this country. And in there, you have at least 2 million tier 1 terrorist targets. These are not Americans. These are our adversaries, people that hate this country. And you have to wonder, are they here because they're looking for the American dream? Or are they here because we're looking at a military occupation of our country through other countries or terrorist organizations or collaboration thereof? And if their intentions was to attack something, you could... when you in the military, and Brian, help me here so I don't stray too far on this shit.
Oh boy.
You can create the appearance of a soft target to make your enemy move in a certain direction because you're setting them up.
I get what you're saying. I just don't think this should be discussed because this is like some J6 Fedsurrection podcast level. Like if I'm the deep state and like I want to take down Badlands, let's whatever target they pick, let's go do that.
Well, it wouldn't be us though. It would be
bad topic. Maybe we should switch to fake Joe Biden.
I told you. I told you God intervened.
I could certainly switch.
We should have listened to God.
By the way, did you see the clip of Tucker talking about fake Joe Biden?
Yeah. Sorry.
That was interesting.
The hotel I'm at has these like every night at 8 p.m. they have this s'more station where you can go down. They have these like little baggies of graham crackers, marshmallows, and chocolate and make the s'mores. And I stole like 5 bags of them, and I've just been snacking on these this whole time. So while I'm eating, that was the Heritage interview, which was pretty freaking interesting. Mm-hmm. But anyway, continue.
It is pretty interesting. I mean, I think Tucker throwing it out there is he had to know that's going to light some fires with people, because there is a group of people out there that do believe it's a fake Joe Biden or a dude playing a dude disguised as a dude named Joe Biden. So I don't know. I mean,
this might have been
Tucker would throw a little, fuel on that fire.
Yeah, he when he said that, I was like, God damn it, because that's like, no offense to anybody who believes it. I just personally don't believe that it's.
I don't either.
Like a guy wearing a mask. So yeah, when I saw that, I was like, God damn it, Tucker. But I want to play this clip, and this was my favorite moment from the debate because you could tell his whatever was going on the teleprompter he was reading totally glitched the F out, and he like couldn't help himself but from saying like what is happening. You know what I mean? This is my favorite moment from the debate or the whatever
presser.
South Korea, we're gonna get the chip. What are you doing? I'm gonna get Japan and Korea.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
He didn't have teleprompters up there, so what the heck is he talking about? You know what? Somebody was probably telling him to wrap it up. I think this is close to where he was wrapping it up.
Was it?
Yeah, because they tried to wrap it up on him twice, and he went back and asked more questions.
Did he have an earpiece? I mean, I didn't really notice, but like
he rubbed his ear once or twice. He rubbed his ear once or twice, but I don't know if he had an earpiece in. But I mean, he was as good as Biden can be right now. I said this on the debate night that we're never going to see Biden any better. He was than he was that night. He was a little bit better tonight. Last night. Still all over the place. Train wreck. Absolute train wreck.
Yeah, but just good enough, which heartened me. I was like, okay, good. He didn't screw up quite as bad as the debate. He still looks completely demented, but not enough to where it's going to be a unanimous thing to call for him to leave.
Well, did you see the CNN piece today on him, on Biden, saying that he hasn't met with his cabinet since October 2nd, 2023, which is before October 7th, by the way. So he didn't meet with his full cabinet after the Hamas quote unquote attack.
Shocking.
And then they were also saying that, some obviously anonymous sources came out and said that he, when he does meet with his cabinet, everything is scripted. All the questions are given beforehand. Like the questions that he's going to be asked are given beforehand so that they can obviously formulate an answer. They said that he would just go like lengths of time without speaking. Obama would do most of the speaking when they have meetings outside of the cabinet meeting. So they're all in on getting this guy out.
Like I know the clones and the mask gets abused a lot. Like I completely agree with you on that, John. But I mean, this guy, he's had so many like dramatically different looks. I mean, it has to make you at least wonder. Like, some of the falls he's taken at his age. You don't just get up and continue to walk like that shit didn't phase you. Like anybody that's worked like at a nursing home or is taking care of an elderly parent, like that shit phases them for a good minute. But like he just gets up and they walk him, and it's, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I get the clone stuff gets abused, but it's just hard for me to believe that this like legitimately is Biden too, man. Like I struggle with that one.
The way I said it yesterday, I think it was yesterday. Was the press conference yesterday? Yeah, it was. I said it's like this. What we got yesterday at the press conference was if we went. It was like when we took my grandpa's keys away because he was losing it so much to the point where he couldn't drive anymore. Then after the fact, like threw him out in front of hundreds of people and just started throwing questions at him. Like that's the way I viewed this. Like he's got some form of cognitive decline. But this is another good clip. I want to play this.
Look, folks, this is well, anyway, in the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling in the 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, it wasn't about just, anyway, read what his objective is. And anyway, but then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway, look, folks, this is
still know the idea that.
Go ahead.
It's still the idea that this thing, the idea that is still the ultimate.
For sure. The idea that this is another good one, but to me, this was also genuine. Like everybody's reaction here was genuine.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
I haven't seen the Zelensky look on that.
Yeah. So crazy. And this one too. This has been circulating. Ezra Cohen Watnick even retweeted this, which is amazing.
Oh, this is so good.
So if you're thinking Patriots full control situation, you could almost expect the same exact reaction, except it would be like, are they holding back laughs? Or are these guys like genuinely fearful for what's going on here? I see this as like fear, like, holy fuck, he actually said this. But you could also like make the argument that they're trying to hold back laughter because Jake Sullivan had to like cover his face. But watch this.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that
I'm pretty sure Sullivan is shaking. Watch him when he brings his hand up. Watch his hand shake.
Qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that
oh man, that was unbelievable.
That's like a nervous shake. That's a good pick there.
I didn't catch it the first time, but the second time after you pointed it out, I saw it. So real quick, gents, I have Langley calling me. They're pissed that I couldn't get you guys sucked in.
Try again, Fed boy.
Not today, fella.
Fed.
But what I will say, if there is somebody from the DOJ listening, my opinions don't reflect anybody here, and it was still just a hypothetical. But I do got to bounce, you guys. I got to go and cook for the family because they're starving. But I appreciate you guys having me.
So, catch you later, man.
I gotta go
Just messing
debrief.
with
I gotta
you.
go debrief my superiors.
Yeah.
Your handler.
Thanks
Take
for
it
trying
easy,
to
Alpha.
entrap us, bro. Always good to see you. Go watch.
Oh, Alpha. Every week, just trying to entrap us, but we never let him. But we bring him back anyway, you know?
Right.
He's a
You
boy.
gotta love the Alpha.
Yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, before we get off the Joe Biden thing, did you guys see the meme where it's like Mick Jagger running down the stage at 80 years old, and then they show like Biden being like escorted with Jill off the steps of the debate? Oh, it's so good, dude. The reason I thought of it is because I just went and saw the Rolling Stones on Wednesday night, and I hadn't seen them. They were my very first concert when I was 12 years old, so I have not seen them in 43 years, and telling you, Jagger looked exactly the same as he did in 1981. He was just like sprinting around the stage, and to think he's the same freaking age as Biden, it's amazing.
They're probably going to die on stage.
I think
it's going to be the most epic thing in rock ever.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen. God, what comedian was it? I think it was Robin Williams. He's like, the world's going to end one day, and it's going to be Keith Richards and a cockroach standing there, and Keith Richards is going to be like, I fucking smoked your uncle. Did you know that? Like, it's that guy. I don't know, man. He's the only dude in history where he goes to his drug dealer, and the drug dealer's like, bro, tapped out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find this clip. Mick Jagger versus Biden.
I think that might be it. It was on, I don't know. I saw it on like Facebook or something. My cousin sent it to me. We went to the show together.
I have like a comparison of 2 different clips here. It wasn't like one clip, but I'll play it. See what happens.
Oh my God.
Visiting angels.
Wow.
That's funny, but that's not it. It's yeah, it was like it showed him like running, and then it immediately cuts to Biden being like escorted down those tiny
Falling
little steps
up the stairs.
It was after the debate, the shot where Jill is like walking him down those little steps.
If somebody could find that, that'd be great. And
yeah,
I'll in the chat.
Find it.
But I mean, but people like Biden being legitimately 81 years old and like in some sort of cognitive decline, having had 2 aneurysms to this point, like the way he looks is not surprising. And Mick Jagger, I mean, he's just a freaking beast. We have the best. What is this, CanCon?
Oh, you don't have to play that. We just have. It's a video Marissa Hanson just posted of a Florida cop, the city right next to me, and pretty good-looking police officer.
Approximately 6 a.m. They saw a white male on the stand this morning.
Don't worry about the story. It's just
support the blue, friends.
Right, back to blue.
CanCon's about to go on a crime spree.
I'm going to Hollywood, man.
He's about to go run every red light in Hollywood.
Oh man, funny. Oh shit, 11 o'clock. What do you guys think? Do we have any rants? Does anyone even like this show?
No. I have rant. Hold on.
Oh, we got a few. I didn't do the thing, but I can find them.
Thing.
Okay. I can read some of these here. If I miss any though, let me know. We got Melindy saying one of the best boomerangs ever, in my honest opinion. Let's bring this back. If you remember, Mr. Moore went on to say that there would be massive regret. And it's a link. Let's see what this is.
I'm dropping that Biden Jagger link in the private chat too.
What was that?
Oh, did you find
it? Dropping the I found it. The Biden Jagger link. I'm dropping that over in the private chat.
Hell yeah. Okay, let's do this one first. Hold for processing.
That's our president now. Look at that.
it's crazy, but
resident.
Okay, honestly though, for like in the people you know that are 80 years old, which one of these two people is closer to what you would expect from an 80-year-old?
Yeah, Biden for sure.
Biden. Okay,
Yeah, Biden.
yeah. Just want to make sure.
Nick Jagger's a freak. It's
it's a valid point, but Jagger is kind of a freak, and he's almost Trumpian in that regard. Like, there's no logical reason that at 81 years old, they've been touring for 60 years now, that they should still be able to do this at that level. It's mind blowing, man. I'm not the biggest Stones fan in the world, but that is mind blowing.
I do have. This is the video that Melindy sent over, and this is a great video. We could probably close out on this one because it's so long, but everybody's seen this video.
Michigan that are planning to vote for Trump.
Yeah, it's a classic. We'll play that at the end. Just remind me. What else we got here? C. Kretz. John, we golfing at Gart. I need to know if I need another day off work. We are. I don't know. So I believe I'm going to be coming down pretty early on Wednesday morning, and we'll be doing something Wednesday afternoon and something probably Thursday morning before the VIP dinner. Nothing is like set in stone or scheduled, but that's my plan. So we will eventually get a head count or something of who's interested, and we'll figure something out. I know of a small like 9-hole course there that would probably just let us like take it over for one of the days, and just like we can all hang out there. And this is nothing to do with the actual Gart event. So Mrs. Bright, if you're watching, do not be angry with me. Just spitballing a little bit.
You're not gonna take me out on like a little executive par 3 chip and putt and then say you kicked my ass, right? We're playing.
No, I wouldn't give you that excuse. I
don't need an excuse.
Okay, we'll see, bro. We'll see.
We'll see.
What are we betting on this, by the way?
I don't know. What do you want to bet?
I don't know.
What's your favorite booze?
What's the most expensive booze there is?
Louis the 14th.
Yeah.
How much is that?
Well, I'm sure there's more expensive than that, but I think Louis is like, isn't there like a Louis bottle that's like $40,000?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can you think of like something
like Johnny Walker Blue, Johnny Walker Blue, like $250, $300 a bottle?
Yeah, I mean, we could even go. We'll talk off air about this. But yeah, I could probably do something like that.
We should make it a humiliation ritual.
I can't golf for shit, so I'm just gonna watch you two go at each other.
Well, that's not a gay, but
we should have people. We should take bets.
Would that be fun?
Should get a pool going. That would be fun.
We should take bets.
What's your handicap again?
I don't have a handicap.
What's your golf handicap?
I don't know. I play good.
I don't know. I play good.
When's the last time you golfed?
Yesterday.
I
don't do handicap. I don't like enter my score and establish a handicap. I don't give a shit about it that much.
Okay, what did you shoot yesterday?
I only got to play 9 holes, and I shot I think either 41 or 42. Not a good game. It's hot as shit down here. Like after like
it was the heat. It was probably the heat,
dude. Man. It's not heat. It's the sweat. Like is just running down my face, and like it's just miserable. It really is. It's miserable in South Florida to play golf. It's just straight humidity.
I'm sure your golf game is miserable, bro. It's okay.
We'll see. I'm confident.
Anyway, yeah, it'll be fun regardless. All in good fun. I'm not competitive in the slightest. Design Lady LA. So if Devil Plan was to use Fake Joe, who does what white hats want, then the guy in the White House can kick off and they can put a fake body in a coffin and let Joe actor go back to his real life, right? Question mark. I don't understand that because I don't think it was a fake Joe. We're gonna have this discussion in more detail tomorrow on the Power Hour because I know for sure how Patrick feels about the whole thing, like Jim Carrey in a mask. I do not feel that way. Chris, I'm not sure, but whatever he's gonna say is gonna be great. So just tune in tomorrow and we'll explain.
I just don't think you would need him. He's bad enough on his own. You don't need a fake Joe. Like Joe can be manipulated. He's dumb as fuck. He's like, I mean, I don't know. What's the point of having somebody in a mask?
I'll give a disclaimer and say that I don't at all believe it's Jim Carrey in a mask, but there is a tiny part of me that at the end of all this would love to see Jim Carrey take just for the kecks like
Oh,
that.
it'd be
I just
great.
like in the outside batshit fantasy world like that. If I was writing the script, that's what I would want to happen because that would make me laugh the hardest.
Yes, exactly. I'm not rooting against it. Don't get me
No,
wrong.
but it's not a thing. I
just
don't
always
mean to
think of the
disappoint folks.
Obama quote that never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to fuck it up. You know, like why
Exactly.
why do you need to replace that guy? You know, I mean, he's no
Yeah.
genius. Like you can manipulate him completely without having a guy in a mask. That's all I'm saying.
The level of control that I could see happening is the one that like Kyle puts forth about he's a confidential human source or whatever, and he's like just doing this, he's pretending, whatever.
Mhm.
But having known people who have gone through like cognitive decline, like that's what I feel like I'm seeing. Like it's that is it.
For sure.
It's
So I thought his
opinion. I don't know.
I thought his comment about the boot, I thought that's what it was a reference to. I chose not to wear the boot when he was talking about his foot being injured. I thought
that ties
that?
into that ties into the Q stuff too. Pretty
Mhm.
big. The boot club from Q and kind of
Huge.
giving a nod to that, man. So I agree with John too, having seen people going through it, man. Like either he's legitimately going through a steep cognitive decline, or it's absolutely one of the best actors in the history of the world. I just don't know that you could act that kind of cognitive decline that well. Does that make sense? Like I don't know.
Like guys, I'm obviously like looking and wanting as many Devo proofs as I can get. And one that I got sent a million times yesterday was when he talked about he's just listening to his commander in chief or whatever, and then he's like, "Oh, chief of staff." Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is a massive Devo proof." I'm like, "Yeah, it would be if he is legitimately like wearing a mask or he's acting or whatever." Then he said that on purpose. Like that was a purposeful thing to say. It was a calm. But I don't think anything we get from Joe Biden is comms because I think he's got Alzheimer's or something. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't see it as a Devo proof. The Devo proof is them not being able to remove him.
Despite this cognitive decline, actually that kind of makes it even more.
It makes
of
even
a
more
Devo
of a
proof.
Devo
And that's
proof,
why I think
yeah.
it could go either way it goes, they're screwed. And I found it interesting that in that one Trump piece where he was talking about the potential vice president nominees, it was you, Jay, or was it you, Brian, that pointed out all the baseball references that could be change of batters. So I don't know which way it's going to go. I'm going to be either which way. I'm going to look at it and be like, man, that's we can get something good from that. But I don't know. Just short of something happening to him, I don't think they replace him. I just don't. I'm with John. I don't necessarily see the mechanism where they could pull that off. And I understand that they don't pay attention to laws and rules and all that shit. But I don't know that they can do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
What if Joe Biden is kind of fighting back against that and saying, if you guys take me out, I'm taking you down with me.
Totally,
because
that could be true. And it's probably
like I said, like
his handlers.
Right.
Well, like I said last night, is he was making a lot of references that he made in 2020 that were very similar, except he used the proper word this time for what, instead of elections, he used election fraud, the biggest election fraud organization. He said the biggest campaign organization. I don't know. Maybe he's making tips like, little nods to them saying, take me out and this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I would love that. Imagine if Joe Biden is the one that comes out and says the 2020 election was totally stolen from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll discuss tomorrow. A lot of the stuff, like, honestly, it's fun to talk about, but we're never probably going to get an answer on it. It makes it frustrating to me, but whatever. We'll keep going through the rants here. I'm sure there's at least one or two more on this topic. Dirk McGurkin says, if it's Flynn, he probably posts the storm has arrived on Twitter as he approaches the podium. That'd be pretty badass.
That'd be amazing. That would be badass. We would have to immediately go live with Eye of the Storm if that shit happened. that would be the Q proof of all Q proofs.
We're going to be covering that stuff here on Badlands, by the way, so you could just be on that panel. Dirk McGurkin again. Hey, Trump, we need a taste. Signed, Alpha. Don't know what that was referring to. Alpha's been texting me some Fed shit again.
Be back on.
Oh, Alpha said, winner gets my Fed badge. LOL.
LOL.
Oh, is he in the background? No, he's not.
No.
Okay. Counterinsurgent. Okay, this Liberty Den, so I'm going to say it. At my age, an air titty probably looked more like an air Q anyway. I don't know your age, but
that's
fair.
good.
Love
I
it.
hope he stuck around to hear us read that.
Ziggy Girl, if Kamala is the border czar, we need an Elon Musk as an AI technology czar, someone that understands what's coming. Thank you all. Rosalinda, no pressure, J-Trade. Talk to Alpha about having SoCal Badlanders meet up in his area.
Well, I will try to do that.
So they just put out this deep fake warning on the Russians creating political deep fakes of people. What if they're putting that out there to control Joe Biden saying, hey, I actually stole the 2020 election, or something else? It could be anything. But
Right.
Joe Biden's going to do something totally humiliating, and they're going to fall back and say it's Russian disinformation. All right,
That's
good.
dasting because it bangs off a couple cues talking about deep fakes as well, that they would attempt to start using deep fakes as a cover for real videos that were going to come out, incriminating videos about them. And I've always kind of been 50-50 on this Frazzle Drip video. I don't really think it exists. I find it hard to believe that even with as evil as these folks are, that they would be stupid enough to record that kind of horror against a kid. But that said, that was put out there for a reason, and the reason probably is that they do have incriminating shit on these people. And if these people knew that stuff was coming, they'd try to get out in front of it with a deep fake push.
Yep.
Phil Scarborough, like DeSantis, Byron Donalds and Rubio are both from Florida, so they can't be the VP being from the same state that Trump currently resides in. So it's odd that they're on his list. Is that a thing?
No.
It's a thing, but I think it's a look. And I'm not trying to dismiss the rant or be snarky toward this person.
CanCon, you say it's not a thing.
So you can't have electors given to both a president and a vice president if they're from the same state. So if Trump runs with say Donalds, who's from Florida, and Trump wins, you can only give Florida's 29 electors to Trump. You can't give them to the same. It's a really dumb amendment, or excuse me, not amendment. It's a really dumb stipulation in the Constitution, and it should be looked at because this is going back to when we were 13 colonies and weren't nearly as large as we are now, and didn't have the technology and the capabilities of transportation. They didn't want to centralize power in one state, but we're well beyond that now. So even if they don't change it, it still won't really matter.
And in
I was just going to say real quick, and it wasn't that went back when they used to vote for the president and the vice president separately. It wasn't like a ticket.
Right.
Correct.
And it's also in 2000 with Bush and Cheney. They were both Texas residents at the time, and Cheney just changed his residence back to his Wyoming residence. And it's the same. All it would take, like say if Trump wanted to pick Donalds or Flynn or anybody from Florida, all Trump's got to do is change his residence back to Trump Tower in New York City. Boom, done. It's easy.
And Trump actually commented on it recently. I heard a little interview with him, and they asked him about that, and he said, "Yeah, it's just a technicality that we can work around. So it wouldn't prevent them from picking somebody from Florida."
Must be nice to have multiple residencies. Carrie Prejean says, "I'm with CanCon. Flynn for VP. Huge deterrent to taking out Trump. Put him in charge of meaningful work. Let him direct investigations. Where he's most effective. Let Trump revive the economy." Thank you for the rant. And I think he'd be a good VP, but I feel like most people don't understand what insurance is, because that is not how it works. But just giving you a shit, CanCon. Sorry for your comments earlier.
Look, having been through a house fire, I can confirm that your description of insurance was dead on. We had fire insurance. It didn't.
I used to sell insurance for like years, so
yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Insurance does not prevent fires, fam. K Large 79. If the plan for Trump's VP is to have the next 8 years after Trump, then them running for POTUS first is nonsensical. Secret's twin here, Mohab. Nice. The better twin is in the chat. I love it. Met them both at the Minnesota Badlanders meetup. And it sounds like they're coming to a GART too, so that'll be fun. Motivate D Mom, West Virginia. Motivated Mom, West Virginia.
Refer to Jay's shirt.
I made earlier comments about the insurance.
Screw y'all. I made the 999 a 1000. Yay, glad I checked in. Y'all awesome. Can't stay, but thank you. Much love. Thumbs up, Badlanders. How about those Badlands? I agree. Fox 01. If they rig it and win, they can still remove JB afterwards. That's true.
Yep.
PJW, I still say picture the two old Muppets in the balcony looking for a viable Democrat to run for president today is like looking for a Tootsie Roll in a septic tank. That is where I'm at.
Pretty good.
Speaking of that, my son has these two camouflage Crocs, and he had them on the lake water here, and they got washed away. He had them just right on the beach, and they washed away. Found one, but been looking up and down the beach line for this other one. It's you have a camo Croc, and we're trying to find it in sand and grass and muddy water and seaweed, and it's just it's impossible to find.
Well, that's the point of camouflage, right? It's doing its job.
It's well designed. Yeah.
Anyway, that rant reminded me of that. Where am I at? Fox01, JB is the trump card, literally a joker. Space Monkey, to cancel the election, they need to disrupt enough states so no one gets 270 electors. Then 12th Amendment kicks in, House elects the president.
When I say cancel the election, I mean there is no election. Zelensky's months overdue from being re-elected.
Right.
That is, I'm not putting anything past this election. I lean more towards something happening for them, finding an excuse to not hold it. I'm definitely on board with that train of thought, but we'll see. It'll be fun to see how it plays out. Kathy Amadon says, hey, John and guys, love Badlands and catch 2 shows a day every day. It's awesome. Badlands and GP, probably Gateway Pundit, are my favorite sources. I'm the AP for our censored World War II 3D Christian movie project, godsarmored.com. Check it out. We'll do that. B. Jerb says, I agree with J-Tree. This plan did not start in 2016. As Q says, it has been in the works for years. If so, they made sure Trump won in 2016.
Yeah, I think it goes way back. We're talking back toward Kennedy time is when I think we kind of went hot with something.
Yep.
Bubbles Wick, what if Obama was white hat and kept McCain, Romney, and Ryan out of office, meanwhile setting Biden up for the VP and lining him up to run against Trump after Clinton failed? LOL, makes you think. I've heard the Obama is a white hat argument, and I completely disagree with that.
Yeah, I would have to see the hardest proof ever to buy into that, man. I just can't. I've seen way too much to the contrary, and Q even throwing him under the bus as a complete traitor.
I would say the $65,000 worth of hot dogs from Chicago. Kind of seals the deal for me.
Then the $4.5 billion in cash to Iran right as he was scooting out of office. I can't make that leap. I believe in some crazy shit, but I can't make that leap, brother. There's not a bridge long enough.
1027 JS says, great discussion, guys. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
John W. Ryan, the 4th, says, am I the only one having trouble ranting? Third try. I feel like he has trouble every single show that he tries to rant on. Kira Prajan, good insight, Alpha. The asshats may do anything to cancel the elections and see what they can preserve. Effing retards that they are. We're winning. Do what they will. We win. We restore the Republic. Alpha is gone, so he doesn't get that rant.
Womp womp.
Sorry, I'm scrolling through to see if there's anything I missed. Brian, do you see anything?
Yeah, there's 6 more.
Yeah, you read through because I don't have the thing.
All right. Cap Prigine again says, saw a hearing with Fed Chair Jerome Powell today. He said he hasn't met with Biden since April 2022. Over 2 years with no meeting with the president, with the economy in shambles. WTF?
That's kind of Devo-y, right?
Sorry, hold on. I was reading something else. Let me read that again.
That ties into what we were saying about the last full meeting being October 7th or October 2nd, 5 days before the 7th, and nothing since.
Yep, quite devolution-y for sure.
J Mama 17 says, watch the Kim Clement prophecy that Abs posted the other day. Think Dem convention, then re-listen to Trump Hannity interview about 100% terror attack.
Yeah, that shit was a little bit mental when Kim Clement in 2014 is talking about seeing a terrorist attack at a Hyatt Regency in Chicago, which is exactly where the DNC is this year. That's a little weird for me. I don't quite know what to make of it, but that's weird as shit.
Well, what you shared on Tuesday's Daily a complete non-story that pops up out of nowhere of a black man getting kneeled on, and then dying in Milwaukee, where the RNC is about to be, at a Hyatt hotel.
At a Hyatt Regency. It just
at a Hyatt Regency.
Pinged is a little bit weird to me, man. It almost, stuff we were talking about tonight, if they were going to try anything, it might be at one of those two events, man. Who knows? I mean, even an attempt on Trump could spark some kind of chaos that they could use to hide behind and divert the narrative. It's stay frosty. That's all I got to say, man. I have no idea what's going to happen, but
And wasn't the first reporting on that, Paul? Like, it took them like 6 days to report that.
Yeah. It's almost like they held it back for a few days, because when we pulled it up,
we were a weekend.
Right. We had thought it was recent. Then you pulled it up and you were like, wait, this is like 10 days old or something. It was weird.
Well, the first weekend that they're going to have that story out in the mainstream is this weekend coming up, which is the weekend just before the RNC.
Right.
It's going to be frosty out there. Stay frosty. All right. Jay, we read that one. Bubbles Wick says side by side of Joe and the Banjo Boy from Deliverance. Epic.
That is actually, I've seen that, and it is pretty spot on. You wonder what happened to that boy. It was.
All right. Oh shit. Sorry, my dogs just both jumped up at the same time, and that's weird. Cap Brugine says Dennis Leary in a bit.
You scrub your gun? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I just bought this. I haven't even gotten an optic for it yet. I ordered it from Optics Planet, badlandmedia.tv/shop.
Oh, yep. And speaking of that, let's play this real quick while you go make sure that there's nobody intruding in your house.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I have to read something here. So hold on. Have any plans for after the show? How about heading over to the Badlands shop, where you'll find Patriot companies with Patriot values. Put your money where your morals are and shop with peace of mind while supporting your favorite Badlanders. Whether you're shopping for everyday household items or a unique gift for that special someone, skip the big box store. Check out the Badlands shop and support Patriot businesses and Badlands Media with every purchase. Find unique items for your home and garden, stock up on food, kids' activities, pet supplies, even plan for your financial future, or protect yourself from break-ins when your dogs freak out. You'll find just about everything, and we're adding more every day. Thank you for supporting companies that support Badlands. We couldn't do this without you. Badlandsmedia.tv/shop. Are you safe, Brian?
Yes, I'm safe. Okay. And I saw somebody in this shop say we have a deal with Optics Planet. They're one of the affiliates on Badlands shop. So if you go check that out, you can buy a whole bunch of badass tactical gear. I got a new rail system for it and a EOTech for it. So looking forward to that. Chevron deference, baby.
It's a damn shame that thing's going to get lost in a boating accident tomorrow, man. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, it's going out tomorrow. We're going out on the jet skis, and I'm going to throw it overboard.
Seas are going to be angry.
Dennis Leary in a bit. This is from Cap Prigine, or CA Prigine. Dennis Leary in a bit several years ago said, "When Keith Richards dies, we'll smoke his ashes and all get high." I think that was
accurate.
Wasn't that Keith Richards' like death wish? Like that wasn't that his wish?
Probably. I mean, I wouldn't.
Can you smoke ashes? I don't think you can smoke ashes though.
Well, you mix it with weed, but.
Well, I mean, I don't know that I would really want to do that. Well, I guess they're sterile. I mean, I
would
be
like
do it,
weed
but
laced with PCP or something, right?
I don't want to do that.
Lace it with Keith Richards' ashes. I don't know what you would get.
Jeez.
Definitely PCP.
Yeah. Julie JN says McCullough said that Biden is showing signs of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, which is probably a result of the jab. Whether he got the jab or not is a good narrative to put out there. I did see the one video that was put out there of like the 2 times Biden got the jab, and like the one time like he's got like a jacked arm that's like hairy and tan, and then the next time he has like a scrawny little like liver spotted arm. That was pretty interesting. Probably a deep fake, Russian deep fake.
Yeah.
Real Red says, Alpha, your thought about DC aligns with a couple different prophets. Even more prophets have said the Statue of Liberty will be coming down. George Washington Monument won't make it. Statue of Liberty's in New York, not DC.
We do not condone terroristic behavior on Badlands Media.
Absolutely not.
I disavow that last.
The Alpha Warrior Show says, I putting cases on all you mother effers, FKERs. King Kong ain't got ship on me. Shoe program.
Is he talking about like cases as in he's a Fed and he's gonna like put cases on us? Okay.
I think he should go wash his face. That's what he should do. He knows what I mean by
go
that.
wash your face,
Yeah,
Alpha.
you know what I mean by that.
I know exactly. Carla K. Clennon says, happy anniversary to Paul and Barbara. Thanks for sharing your night with the Badland family.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, tell Barb we say happy anniversary. I know she's probably sitting next to you.
She's waving.
Hi, Barbara. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary.
Hey, Barb.
Fox01 says Devo proof could be the contempt of Obama's face and videos when he snubs JB at certain events.
Could be. Oh, let me reread that.
Did I read it wrong?
No, I wasn't listening that closely. Devil proof could be the contempt on Obama's face in videos when he snubs JB. Maybe. I don't know. I think he's at odds with JB right now. I think everybody is because they know they can't get rid of him. And they're trying their darndest.
I think it's more likely that Obama's just like, my God, this guy's a fucking train wreck. I think it's probably more of that.
Awesome. Well, fun show, guys. It was a good time. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for the DPH. On that, I got this video I'm going to play. It's kind of long, but we'll end on this note and get out of here.
All right.
Enjoyed it. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Because I know a lot of people in Michigan that are planning to vote for Trump, and they don't necessarily like him that much, and they don't necessarily agree with him. They're not racist and rednecks, they're actually pretty decent people. And so I wanted to sort of, after talking to a number of them, I wanted to write this. And Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit and build them in Mexico, I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. It was an amazing thing to see. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said anything like that to these executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, the Brexit states. You live here in Ohio, you know what I'm talking about. Whether Trump means it or not is kind of irrelevant because he's saying the things to people who are hurting. And it's why every beaten down, nameless, forgotten working stiff who used to be part of what was called the middle class loves Trump. He is the human Molotov cocktail that they've been waiting for. The human hand grenade that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them. And on November 8th, Election Day, although they've lost their jobs, although they've been foreclosed on by the bank, next came the divorce, and now the wife and kids are gone. The car's been repoed. They haven't had a real vacation in years. They're stuck with the shitty Obamacare bronze plan where you can't even get a fucking Percocet. They've essentially lost everything they had, except one thing. The one thing that doesn't cost them a cent and is guaranteed to them by the American Constitution, the right to vote. They might be penniless, they might be homeless, they might be fucked over and fucked up. It doesn't matter because it's equalized on that day. A millionaire has the same number of votes as the person without a job. One. And there's more of the former middle class than there are in the millionaire class. So on November 8th, the dispossessed will walk into the voting booth, be handed a ballot, close the curtain, and take that lever, or felt pen or touchscreen, and put a big fucking X in the box by the name of the man who has threatened to upend and overturn the very system that has ruined their lives. Donald J. Trump. They see that the elites who ruined their lives hate Trump. Corporate America hates Trump. Wall Street hates Trump. The career politicians hate Trump. The media hates Trump after they loved him and created him and now hate him. Thank you, media. The enemy of my enemy is who I'm voting for on November 8th. Yes, on November 8th, you, Joe Blow, Steve Blow, Bob Blow, Billy Bob Blow, all the blows get to go and blow up the whole goddamn system because it's your right. Trump's election is going to be the biggest fuck you ever recorded in human history. And it will feel good.